Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Christmas holiday. It's been crazy here. Crazy tired. Uh, hello, A got change. Brenda Joe, good to see you. You finally woke up. uh, Ginger Girl, hello. SRB, hello. Um, yeah, it has been. I've been chilled all day. I had to go out early this morning to do my 6-month checkup with the doctor and med check, all that kind of good stuff. I had to have labs done and then just see the doctor, and everything's good. Um, but ever since I came back, I have just been chilled all day, just laying here with a electric blanket on. It's been crazy. Turkey coma. I didn't have turkey. What the hell? I had shrimp. Brenda, Joe, and I did not cook this year. We went out to eat uh, with her husband, and yeah, it was nice. It was nice. We had a good time. So I was trying to think about, I've had 2 days off, right? I was going through withdrawals, guys. I was wanting to jump on, but I thought, no, I'm going to take this time for myself. But boy, looking at everything that has been going on, I'm like, I don't know even where to begin tonight. But I kind of think I do. So I wanted to kind of go over, of course, we're talking about Sebastian Rogers missing since February 25th. He's been gone now 10 months. And unfortunately, he didn't come home by Christmas like we're believing. So now it's New Year, right? We want him home by the New Year. um, and it seems like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, guys. And so I thought I would share my screen and share some of the details that's going on. So this one was from today, from At Night. Dog the Bounty Hunter and partners address Christopher Proudfoot's false claims. Sumner County, Tennessee, Dog the Bounty Hunter and his partners are addressing demonstrably false statements made by Christopher Proudfoot, stepfather of missing Sebastian Wainwright Rogers, during a recent public appearance. On a YouTube panel discussion, Mr. Proudfoot falsely claimed that Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team never attempted to contact him regarding efforts to locate Sebastian. This statement is demonstrably false and contradicted by documented communications from Mr. Proudfoot and his wife, Katie Proudfoot. Documented communication timeline, September 8th, 2024. At night, and Dog the Bounty Hunter received a text message from Mrs. Katie Proudfoot's phone, which reads, "Any communication to myself or my husband should go through law enforcement. Contact them, not us." Based on anomalies in language and tone, it is probable that this message was sent by Mr. Christopher Proudfoot using Mrs. Proudfoot's phone. September 9th, 2024, the following day, Dog's High-Risk Fugitive Task Force received a second formal text message from Mr. Proudfoot's phone. This message stated, "Nick and Dog, the Bounty Hunters High-Risk Fugitive Task Force. Consider this your formal and only message from my wife Katie and myself. Do not, for any reasons or circumstances, contact us in any way again. If you need to contact us, you need to reach out to Sumner County Sheriff's Office or Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Chris and Katie Proudfoot." Both texts demonstrate a deliberate attempt by Christopher and Katie Proudfoot to block direct communications from Doug the bounty hunter and his team. Additional communication. Doug and his partners also attempted contact through group text messages involving Katie Proudfoot, Stephen Fisher, and Christopher Proudfoot. These efforts were met with no cooperation or substantive engagement. Misleading public statements. Despite these documented communications, Mr. Proudfoot falsely claimed during a YouTube panel that Doug the bounty hunter had not reached out to him. This claim is both untrue and misleading, as Mr. Proudfoot explicitly instructed Doug and his team not to contact him or his wife directly. These false statements harm public trust, distract from the critical search for Sebastian, and misrepresent the facts. Doug the bounty hunter and his partners are urging Christopher Proudfoot to immediately stop making false and inaccurate public statements. These lies are not only absurd, but also harmful to public trust. In addition, Doug's team is exploring civil legal avenues to address any damage caused by these misrepresentations. Despite these distractions, the focus remains on uncovering the truth and ensuring justice for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who disappeared on February 25th at the age of 15. And then it goes on to say, if you have any credible information, contact Sumner County, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI tip line. Sebastian's disappearance has now been classified as a criminal investigation, and the search for answers remains active across multiple states. Doug and his partners remain committed to finding the truth, locating Sebastian, and holding all responsible parties accountable. So, and then these pictures here kind of show that they reached out to him and then they said no. I like how they put, if you fear your husband and want to speak in private away from him, reply with the number 2 and delete the text. Then call this number when you are away from Christopher. We will be coming Tuesday to speak with him. So, they were giving her every effort, right? I thought that was interesting. And then we got this one. Okay. Starts up here. At night, private intelligence is renewing its call for public assistance as part of the ongoing effort to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who vanished on February 25th at the age of 15. So it says, as we revisit the early days of this case, it is clear that critical information was drowned out by distractions and misinformation. Organized artifact findings disguised as searches, suspicious meetings involving local creators and the Proudfoots in March and April 2024, and intimidation tactics designed to silence independent coverage all contributed to delaying progress. These mafia-style attempts to control the narrative discouraged open discussions and public accountability. Isn't that meetings involving local creators? Shroud of secrecy. We understand that two friends of the family hold critical information that could shed light on this case. Additionally, connections between friends of the in-laws and individuals involved in building homes for political figures and officials in Tennessee have created a shroud of secrecy that looms over the investigation. To anyone with knowledge of these connections or potential leads, we urge you to come forward. Your information could be pivotal in breaking through the barriers that have slowed progress in this case. A message to those involved. If you have Sebastian or know his whereabouts, we implore you to act in his best interest. Take him to a nearby store and instruct him to go inside and dial 911 after counting to 60. This simple act ensures your safety and guarantees that Sebastian can safely return home to those who love him. And it goes on to say how to provide information. Sebastian remains the focus of a relentless national search effort. Despite attempts to disrail and intimidate those seeking the truth, we remain steadfast in our mission to uncover what happened and bring Sebastian home. Thank you for your continued support and vigilance. Your courage and contributions are invaluable as we work together to find Sebastian and deliver justice. Then it talks about the satellite imagery. Again, talks about how to help, how to provide information. These images provide a crucial opportunity to uncover details that may have been missed during the initial phases of the investigation. Every observation matters, and even the smallest detail could help bring us closer to finding Sebastian. Thank you for your continued support and vigilance as we work tirelessly to uncover the truth and bring Sebastian home. And they show various pictures. I'm not going to show those pictures because when I pull them up, it gives addresses. So I encourage you guys, this is on Facebook. So go to At Night Media on Facebook and see the post. And you can look at these and these addresses for yourself. Okay. There are, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 9 pictures to look at. And there's, and I would show them. I didn't take the time to black everything out at the bottom. So, I'm not going to do that just because I don't want to be doxing anyone. I don't do that. So, come back over now and take a look at our chat because I haven't had a chance to, couldn't read it while I was reading all that other stuff. Okay. Yeah, Brenda Jo, she slept all day. I did most of the day myself. Hi, Melissa. Good to see you. Overeating coma. Oh, hello, K9. We missed you too. I had a chuckle. She said, I had a chuckle when the DD said, "Is the smart ones to stay quiet." Oh, I want to watch that one, but and K9 just woke up. And I think we can guess who those are. Yeah, those houses. Yeah, we can easily guess who they are, especially when you look at the bottom and you see the addresses. But yeah, I think it was Crime Time Buzz who showed it, and they hit her immediately. So they're watching, guys. They are watching. Oh, it's your birthday. That's right. I forgot. I knew it was somebody's birthday. Well,
happy birthday to you. 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 Happy birthday to you.
happy birthday. Happy birthday. You slept most of the day. Well, that's not a bad birthday. Aw. Doug also posted them on his YouTube channels on his community page. Gotcha. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, your son had the best. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like that. So, the other thing that I was going to do was, we could look at. Took a couple of things. I do want to talk about the red flags that Jennifer Coffindaffer came up with, and kind of focus on those, right? Because I think they're important. I will say this, though. I don't kind of agree with her overall picture of where she's going with what happened to Sebastian. Because guys, yeah, I've told you before, I'm going to continue to believe he's alive until somebody smacks me over the head with some proof that he's not, right? Because I just don't want to think the worst. I'm just that way. I want to think the best. I want to think that, he's going to come home to his dad, and that's where I want to go. Have I had doubts throughout this? Absolutely, I have. I'll admit it. I have. There's been times that I have wondered, but we really have no evidence to suggest that, right? And that reminds me, hello, Nick. And I was just going to talk about that is a video that Nick did on Christmas that talked about how, we're in a restaurant and we order our food, but then immediately we haven't gotten our food back yet. And I like this analogy, was that then you complain to the manager right away. And that's kind of what happened in this case. Before we even have the evidence, we're assuming that he's gone. And I just don't, I just don't believe that. I don't want to believe that. So I want to believe the best until somebody knocks me over the head with evidence that he is gone. Then I will believe it. But I thought we'd take a look at Jennifer Coffindaffer's thing. Look at all the red flags, because that's one thing that we've been saying right from the beginning is looking at the evidence, right? We can get so focused on all the noise that's out there, right? I mean, come on, guys, there's been a lot of noise. And, I don't like to be a part of that. I don't want any part of it because it doesn't help the case, right? It just doesn't. And so I thought we'd take a look at her message tonight, on and off, talk about it a little bit. Let me know your thoughts. And we'll start there.
True crimers, welcome to Break the Case. I'm Jen Coffindaffer, and normally I know when I open up the show, I have so much excitement and exuberance. I'm so excited to welcome everybody to talk about the true crime subject that we have on hand. But I got to tell you, I'm not feeling that exuberance.
Okay, I stopped her before she even got too far. Number one, because I don't want everybody to get she's down. She's obviously emotionally down, okay, because of the way she's feeling and the way she's thinking. I don't want everybody to be like that, okay? So don't go there with her. And secondly, I want to thank you, Nick. Thank you so much. And our Lace. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everything. I really do. All right. We'll continue on. Hello, NH. How are you today? Good to see you. All right, let's continue on. Don't get down with Jennifer, okay?
I'm not feeling that excitement. And we're going to talk about why. First of all, for anyone who happened to catch Seth Rogers live that he did, not last night, it was the night before last. It was kind of a Christmas, send a message to Sebastian, what would you say, to Seth at this holiday, obviously very hollow time. It was really moving. It was sad. I listened to most of it. It was interesting because, of course, I had set this live up well before. I had no idea that Seth was going to be doing that. But I think that segment that they did kind of portrays at least how I'm feeling. And what we're going to do today, I've got copious notes here. We are going to go over where we're at in the case from minute one. We're going to look at the clues. We're going to look at what's been said, what hasn't been said. And I think the needle is pointing in a direction. And for anyone who follows me on Twitter, anyone who follows me.
Okay. So I agree with her that the needle points in a specific direction. I definitely agree with that. And she talked about Seth's live, and she said it was sad. It was sad in the fact that, think about it. Seth has not had Sebastian for his 16th birthday. That's a big birthday, guys. Those of you who had children, you know that that's a big birthday for your child, right? And he didn't have him. And then he was facing Christmas without him. So it was sad in that fact, yes, absolutely. But the one thing that really stood out to me was look at all the love that was shown, not only in chat, but all the guests who were on there, right? There was so much love. And compared to a couple of days prior to that, where Chris was on panel with his friends. And guys, they were tearing each other apart. All of them. They were coming at Chris. They were tearing each other apart. That's what happens when you push hate. You begin tearing each other apart. But when you stand firm and you stand for truth, and yes, you stand for love, look what can happen. Look at the difference. I just really feel like maybe she didn't walk away with the full picture. Maybe she didn't see the other panel and what a contrast it was. I think she would be more encouraged if she had. And I understand she is an ex-FBI agent, guys. She's seen a lot, and we are going to learn from her expertise. But just don't go down in the dumps with her is all I'm asking.
Here, you all know, it takes me a long time to get to a point where I would ever even intimate that a victim family would be involved. It takes a long time for me to really look and digest everything. We're going to look at what's been said, what hasn't been said. And I think the needle is pointing in a direction. And for anyone who follows me on Twitter, anyone who follows me here, you all know it takes me a long time to get to a point where I would ever even intimate that a victim family would be involved. It takes a long time for me to really look and digest everything. And I give everyone the benefit of the doubt in a missing persons case. If you look at the Kobayashi case, that was one case that, like most cases, you have to give the benefit of the doubt, particularly in that case where the father killed himself during the search. And by all accounts, the family was grief-stricken over the situation. I'm not going to digress. I'm just going to say that that's my mantra. That was my mantra in the FBI, and that is my mantra now. We, unfortunately, none of us have the information that law enforcement has. I know we all know that, but sometimes we just need to reiterate that. They have so much more that none of us have. But you know what? In this case, we have a lot. We have a lot to work with. I also want to say that in 28 years of investigating federally and in the private sector now, I am not a PI. I work as an expert witness. Occam's razor is about probably 99% true in my experience. Typically, these cases aren't the result of some huge, lavish conspiracy. They're not, they're typically pretty simple in terms of figuring out who had motive, who had opportunity, who had means, and where the facts particularly point. This case is no different. I want to start out, as I said, from the beginning, and I'm going to do a lot of reading of a lot of different things.
Hello, War Eagle. Good to see you.
This is the missing poster from the FBI. And I have a lot of faith in the FBI. Is the FBI perfect? No. Have there been bad actors in the FBI? Yes. Is the top management in the FBI over the last, I don't know exactly how many years, but has it become more politicized? 100%. Am I so angry to see some of the things I see being done in the Bureau and individual actors, some of the things? Yes. Having said that, again, the huge 98 percentile, high percentage of the FBI, they are just street agents. This is what they do. They investigate. They're not for sale. And they put everything they have into cases like this. I think I also shared, and I'll make this quick, one of the last cases I worked on, I was a supervisor and oversaw a large part of this investigation, going into the house where the child went missing, trying to climb through the window that purportedly had gone through, being involved from A to Z in terms of what was going to happen, who was going to be interviewed, getting dive teams, where everybody was going, blah, 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 blah. I learned a big lesson in that case. It was an autistic child. The autistic child was living in complete and absolute squalor, not like the case here. The mother failed the polygraph on a particular question about whether she knew what had happened. Well, we found the child deceased in a body of water.
Hello, Noni.
Very nearby.
Good to see ya.
The mother had failed because this particular autistic child loved to roam, and they put locks up on the doors and the windows, and she was remiss and had not appropriately locked up everything, and she knew it. And that is how the child got out. So she was feeling this sense of guilt, and she failed her polygraph over pretty much knowing that he got out because of something she had done. But she didn't kill him. She had nothing to do with it other than negligence of not locking the door. Okay, I don't want to digress again. I just want to say that in these cases, and if you look back from the beginning to how this has evolved, always give the benefit of the doubt to the parents that are missing that child, to the parents that won't have that child there for Christmas. But this case has a lot to be said for itself. All right. Again, from the beginning, we're going to focus clean on Sebastian from this moment forward. I want to read this to you. Okay. Specific under details. A couple sentences. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was last seen on February 26th, 2024 in the area of Stafford Court in Henderson, Tennessee. He was wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black square framed glasses. Sebastian has medical conditions, including autism. Yes, he had another medical condition that he was diagnosed with, very early on, but he was recently also diagnosed with autism. So for some people like to say, oh, he didn't really have autism. Yes, he had autism and he had another issue as well, but autism was apparently his main diagnosis that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. Let's examine that, because I am taking the FBI, and that's why I talked about why I have so much confidence in the FBI. I'm taking the FBI at their word. This is something that has always bothered me. I know it's bothered a lot of people, and that is these words. So unless they're lying, and I'm a very literal person, and I'm taking this at their literal word, was last seen.
Hello,
on
Rosebud.
February 26, 2024. This doesn't say February 25th in the Texas Roadhouse video that we've all seen. It doesn't say that. It says the 26th, and it says in the area of Stafford Court. I find this very interesting verbiage. I always have. Again, I said we're going to start at the beginning. Things people may have forgotten.
So, guys, do you know what that means? Okay, keep in mind that the 26th starts at 12:01 a.m., does it not? So that means that somewhere from 12:01 a.m. to whatever time, law enforcement must have footage of Sebastian, because Katie said that she didn't see him. She didn't even check on him, right? Sebastian appeared to be a very well-behaved 15-year-old I know. Yeah, I would too. I'd love to just talk to him. I think he'd be the smile. It just endears my heart. Angel of Light, hello, hello. Good to see you. And Rosebud had said, I wish we had confirmation about the Proudfoot's polygraphs. Yeah. Well, I've really come to the conclusion that we don't need to know everything. I really feel that things are happening. And law enforcement, FBI, Dog, Nick, they're the ones that are getting all the information. And they're going to put it together. And we're going to get some justice for Sebastian and get him home. Could have been more to the flashlight video that we don't see. That could very well be, because that was 3 a.m., right? On the 26th. And didn't they say that there was another video out there? Something I heard. You never know what could be true and what couldn't. Well, yeah. I mean, that's, from the sounds of it, he was last seen in the area of Stafford Court on the 26th. And if Jennifer is picking this out, she was an FBI agent. Can't wait till we get to the flashlight video. We have already kind of watched that a couple of times, I think. They must have more to make that statement. Jennifer's pointing it out and saying that it's very interesting to her. So why would they say that? Yeah, Jennifer is amazing, Nick. I agree with you. She's picking things out that, professionals would see. That's something that, I never picked up. I don't know how many others didn't, but I don't remember it ever being talked about until Jennifer said it. And that's why I kind of wanted to chat about it a little bit because, it makes you stop and go, whoa, wait a minute. We've been saying, oh, he was last seen the night of the 25th, early morning to the 26th because of the flashlight video. Well, wait a minute. It says last seen on the 26th in the area of Stafford Court. So I want to see these other video clips. I know. Well, she has them, but I don't think she can show them, and guys, we wouldn't want her to. We wouldn't want anyone to do that, right? I mean, I would love to have the information, but I would never, ever want to know anything or have anything to jeopardize a case. Because what we want is justice, most of all, and we want Sebastian home. All right, let's continue on.
Things people may think are out there because of things other people said, but that might not be accurate. We're going to just stick with the facts tonight. And believe me, there's enough facts that are at least pointing my needle for sure in one direction. Okay. All right.
Wonder which direction she's going.
Now, I want to jump forward. So now we have the 26th. We know we have independent corroboration of life, at least in our public circle on the 25th from that Roadhouse circle. We saw him there. I want to touch a little bit about this video. Sebastian Rogers ate like he hadn't eaten in days. I'm not saying he hasn't eaten in days. I'm saying, why was that? One of the reasons could have been because he was off his medication. We know that Sebastian Rogers was medicated for his medical condition and that the medication he took suppressed his appetite. So one of the thought processes is that he was not on his medication. And that's why we saw him eat in, like I said, what I noticed didn't seem the normal manner of how most people eat. Most 15-year-olds eat even, unless they're starving. And then that's the other possibility, right? We know for a fact that Sebastian Rogers was punished. They did not like him, meaning Chris and Katie Proudfoot, who Sebastian Rogers lived with. Katie Proudfoot was his mother. Chris Proudfoot was his stepfather. We know for a fact, because I just got done listening to them talk about this, they did not appreciate the fact that Sebastian Rogers would get up in the middle of the night and eat, take snacks, take treats. Now, Sebastian Rogers was not fat. He wasn't overweight. He wasn't at all on that side. I personally think he was very thin. His weight ratio to his height tells us he was thin. When you look at pictures of him, you can tell he's thin. The kid was thin. Now, the Proudfoots say they didn't let him, they didn't want him in the kitchen because he would get up in the middle of the night and he would eat snacks that weren't healthy for him, sweets, and that he'd take them back to his room and hide it. I'm going to talk about several what I'll call red flags here. I'm calling this a red flag. For anyone to think this is just normal behavior of a 15-year-old, I don't believe that to be true. I believe it's normal behavior for a hungry 15-year-old. If you don't want them to have snacks, then have in your cupboard popcorn, granola bar if you think that's healthy, fruit, cheese, salami, meats. Have the things that you think are healthy for him, but do not deny a 15-year-old growing boy the opportunity to eat when they are hungry.
I completely agree with her. I didn't have boys. I had girls. So my girls never ate like that. And I see a couple of differing opinions, and that's okay. It's okay if we, because it brings a good, healthy conversation as long as we're respectful. And SRB says, you didn't see so much with his manner of eating. Some kids just eat like that, right? And Ginger said she would agree, but Seth said his eating that night wasn't normal. And so, yeah, I mean, Seth would know, right? I think the thing that got me was if it was normal for him, then why was she taking a picture of him eating? I don't know. Her whole behavior that night was very suspicious to me. Your niece still sneaks and hides food. Yeah. You know, maybe she feels though that somebody's going to get it, or she never sat at our kitchen table at dinner time. It was like none of us ever ate before. I just agree with her that that's a red flag because he was very thin. And the other thing is that if he was on that medication, his appetite was suppressed. So then if he got off of it for whatever reason, that is going to make him hungry. I don't know. I don't understand the whole not wanting him to have snacks. That, you know, when you have kids that are growing and they're hungry, you feed them. You know. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We are dealing with a very intelligent, manipulative character. I agree with that 100%, guys. But yes, this is kind of our first red flag, you know, and for a couple of different reasons. Was he not being fed enough, or was he taken off his medication for some reason? And now he's, you know, his appetite's not suppressed anymore. I mean, so there's a couple of ways you could go with that. Something to keep in mind.
Do you see the oxymoron here? He is on medication that is suppressing his appetite, and yet his appetite wakes him up in the middle of the night to go eat, to get up and get snacks, and he's scrawny. I'm calling him very thin. That's my view. This is my opinion. You can differ with it. I feel very confident in those words, and I feel confident that kid was hungry. I have never seen Sebastian Rogers eat, but this one time, Seth has seen him eat. Seth said this was unusual. It's his father. Seth raised him as a young boy. I'm going to leave it at that. But I'm hoisting up one flag that I believe to be an indication of things yet to come. All right. I want to talk about next some very important things that happened really very early on in the investigation. When I say early on, now we know, unless we're not going to believe the wanted posters, the information from the FBI, all the information put out there was he was last seen on the 26th. Why do I think that might be accurate? Why do I think he might have actually been seen on the 26th, not the 25th when we saw him at the Roadhouse?
It's a good point.
I think so because I believe law enforcement here. What do I think is their because this is important. Katie Proudfoot said she put him to bed and she never checked on him after. Despite hearing noises, at first she says, well, it sounded like he might have been playing with something or had something. And then it became a noise, a loud noise, then it became a thud. It really challenge you all to look if just so you know where I'm getting this from. I'm getting this from Katie Proudfoot herself, from digesting and perusing all her different statements she has made. It's progressed. What the thud noise, I'm doing backwards. Thud, loud noise, sounded like he was playing with something, right? And she doesn't go in. She says, it's time to go to bed. Stop it. Whatever you're doing, get to bed. It's fine. I'm not going to judge her for that. But I find it very interesting, the progression of how she describes this noise. Let me tell you why. And I'm not saying this happened. I'm saying what I have seen in my experience. What I have seen in my experience is that people, when they are involved in a situation where they are either covering or involved in a child being hurt, that oftentimes they will foreshadow and say things like, I heard something. I heard a thud. I heard something noisy. Why? I'm not saying, again, Katie is doing this. I'm saying I've seen it in my experience, because they're trying to explain, if that child is found, why they might have bruises, why they might have an injury that could be life-threatening. Oh, that must have been when I heard that thud. That must have been that. So I'm not saying that here. I am just saying I've seen that. Secondarily.
So, guys, I have said from the beginning that I have felt that the thud was extremely important to this case. I felt it, and I think it goes along with the flashlight video. I believe Sebastian was carried out of the house, but the thud is a really important part of this case. I really feel that. And it is interesting what she's saying here. She has seen it, that they go in a progression, right? At first, it was a noise, and I was confused because when we went backwards and we were looking at all the videos, and I heard her say noise, and I thought it was a thud. And then as we kept listening to them, and it increased, right? And it finally became a thud. Now she seems to be sticking with that story. That's just amazing to me that she picked this out, and said, in her experience, they do that so that they can cover, oh, that must have been the thud I heard. you know, just think about that for a second. Her ever-changing story. Yeah. Yeah. It does. Well, she's been sticking with the thud. I agree, Chica. Good to see you. It does speak volumes. It speaks big time.
I want to say I am raising this as a red flag only in the fact that Katie wasn't consistent from moment one. This is your child that's missing, and you are making statements about it. Most people, it doesn't elevate from, well, I think he might have been, I think she first said something like messing with something. It sounded like he was, playing with something, to a loud thud, right? You start off with the loud thud. Oh my gosh, the night he went missing, I remember a loud thud. If this is the truth, right? When it's not truthful, you hear progressions and you hear missteps and misstatements. Now, giving her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she just didn't phrase it right at the beginning. Maybe as she thought about it, she realized, you know what, that was pretty loud. I probably should say loud thud. For you all to consider, but for me, it raises a red flag. So I've got another red flag standing
Number
up
2,
just
guys.
in terms of the veracity of Katie Proudfoot, specifically about what happened that night with the noise and Sebastian. All right. I find it very early in the investigation on 3/4, March 4th, very early in the investigation, that they had pretty much curtailed a lot of their main search efforts. And they specifically, meaning law enforcement, specifically came out and said, we have moved from a search situation to an investigative situation. Now, sometimes this happens because you realize, again, from my background, you realize that you have to examine where a 15-year-old could walk to in the amount of time you had to work with, right? So law enforcement gets on scene, they start searching.
Hello, sweet misery. Welcome.
If we believe Katie, the last thud was heard at around 10 or so. So he had a long time that he could have left and gone quite a long way. You know the problem with that? He's not seen on any video surveillance cameras anywhere. And that's not coming from Jennifer Coffindaffer, specifically told to us by law enforcement. He was not seen on any video. This is another red flag. No video surveillance of Sebastian Rogers. Walking around the neighborhood, knocking from door to door, leaving and going and walking out on the streets and being picked up by somebody. That's what law enforcement is telling us, okay? It's a red flag. And that tells me, as they well said, that's one of the reasons they're moving from a search to where he could have possibly walked or where somebody would have picked him up. We've looked at all this. We don't see him being picked up. We don't see him at all.
That's a big red flag, guys. Not to mention that, and I know there was a lot of controversy about the dogs, but there was no scent. Those dogs would have been hitting big time. Everything that I've heard since then about how accurate these dogs are, those dogs would have picked up his scent if he had walked out of that house. And not to mention the fact that they would, if he was the one that took out the garbage, they would have picked that up too. And how many of you in chat had said Katie was the one that had the hoodie on, and Seth said somebody with a hoodie that was taking out the trash. Sebastian didn't have a hoodie on. No scent is really huge. Ginger says, was he seen on video being carried out? That's what made me wonder. Was it? They said that there was another video with the camera, right, guys? This is all speculation, guys, right? So we saw the flashlight video where, kudos to the mob for that. Big time. He did an excellent job on that one. But we saw that one. Was there another camera on that other side of the street that showed them putting Sebastian into a car? I mean, we don't know. Well, hello, Aria. Good to see you. And she said, in my opinion, at the Nancy Grace's interview, CP seemed to not know about the thud, allegedly. How could he not know if he was on the phone? Well, yeah, because didn't Katie say something to Sebastian at that time? I think that's changed a little bit too. But yeah, good point. So how did he not know about it? Because she said something to Sebastian, and if she was on the phone, he would have heard it.
Right. They say that they don't have any, and this is important. Law enforcement says, listen, we don't have any information that this is foul play. Words to that effect. We don't have any information that there's foul play, but everything's on the table. Okay, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's like when you hear law enforcement say things like this: they're a person of interest, as opposed to they're a subject, as opposed to they're under suspicion. I've talked about that.
So that is a really good point, Karen, because I know that CJ, I saw him, his video or something, where he was going around and he was looking at all the cameras that were in the neighborhood. He actually, was looking at that, so he would know if there was a camera that should have seen that. And you know what? It's okay if we don't have that information. It's just kind of nice to know that there's something else out there. That's a good point, Ginger. Did the thud wake her up? Well, I don't think it woke her up. Honestly, I think she was a part of the thud, allegedly, in my opinion. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. You guys know that, right? But what if she was a part of the thud? She hasn't been honest all this time, so.
Talked about this a lot in the Harmony Montgomery case. When we're in the bullpen, when we're talking about these cases, you can call it potato, tomato. When we say this is our person of interest, I got to ask this actually on News Nation about Luigi Mangione. The question was, Jennifer, they're saying they have a person of interest. This was after he was arrested at McDonald's, but we didn't hear about any charges yet. So it was very early on, right after they took him into detained him. The question was asked, does this mean he did it? Is he a subject? They're not saying he's a subject, he's a person of interest. I'm saying absolutely he's a subject. You can call it a potato, you can call it a potato. Yes, he's a person of interest. And I'm equating that to this, meaning law enforcement will often say, before they're getting ready, not before, but when they don't know exactly what they have, and this was very early on, just within a week, they are not going to say they know there's foul play unless it's completely obvious, like they have somebody on video shooting the child, or they have somebody that called and said, I just killed my child, like we saw happen with the man who killed his 4 kids, right? Or I think it was 3 sons. We're not talking about a smoking gun case here. So no, law enforcement is basically telling you, generally speaking, it's all on the table. Just because we don't have it narrowed down to the exact foul play, it's all on the table. Now, for those of you thinking, okay, she's got 3 red flags over here, what is in the favor of there not being a red flag right now? I will say this: Connor Jack Oswald. That kid left. He was about 1.5 years older than Sebastian. 2.5 years later, he was found. It's a lot different, though, in my mind, because of the suspicious circumstances in this case versus that case. You can look it up. And because of the fact that that kid was much, much older, was much easier for him and able to get around. He was more learned, if you will. So when you look at all of that, all I'm trying to say is not that it's not possible that he could have just walked out of that door, never been seen by a security camera. It's not probable. It's not Occam's razor. So I'm holding out because I'm a glass half full. I'm holding out the maybe 10% chance, 5, maybe 5, maybe, that he just walked out and no security cameras saw him, and that he'll be found 2.5 years from now in a Walmart.
No.
And somebody will report it.
We don't want to hear that, right? We don't want to hear that he'll be found 2.5 years later. I agree with her. That's a very small, slim chance. But I liked what she was saying about them not giving us a person of interest or stating a person of interest. They're not going to. They have to build their case. Law enforcement will not give that out unless they know that they've definitely got someone. And if you guys remember, if you looked at my video on the Emma Baum case, Gary Police actually told me that they have a person of interest in that case. So if they have a person of interest, they're going to say so, right? That doesn't mean they're not looking at things. It doesn't mean that they may not be building a case. But they're going to keep everything close to their vests. I think especially in this case, there are more players that I think are involved here. And they just need to keep things closer. Right? That's my personal opinion. I don't know anything more than you guys know. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so is it a coincidence that KP and Sebastian were wearing the same colored shoes? And KP was wearing black pants and a hoodie. I don't know. I don't know about the shoes. there's more than what we know, right? It could be. But Sebastian wasn't wearing a hoodie. Doesn't mean he didn't put one on to take out the trash, but, I mean, I think we're reaching with that. Let's call the whole thing off. You're funny, Jackie. I wish we could, right? So the reason I bring that up is because their own investigator proves the garbage truck, but debunks their story going out the door. Yeah. Well, we know their narrative is they've been pushing a narrative for a long time, guys, and then they've been changing that narrative all along, and it just doesn't work. You can't, you can't, you've got to stay with the truth, you know. Yes, we talk about speculation on here and, kind of go down the road a little bit, but we don't, when push comes to shove, we stick with the facts, but their narrative keeps changing, you know. I mean, look, Chris is out there searching now after almost a year. Why? Why? Even the police aren't looking, guys. That tells you something. Because trust me, if law enforcement thought Sebastian was in those woods, they'd be out there. Yeah. Yeah, I know. If law enforcement even hit it at someone they were suspicious of, the clowns, jokers, and all his monkeys would catapult into a human headhunt. You guys are funny. Oh my goodness. Hello, Queen of ASEAN. Good to see you. You guys, I've been lazy. I haven't gotten your packages out from Christmas yet. I will get to it though, probably tomorrow. You think so, Ginger? It is complex, and that's the thing. We don't have any evidence leading us one way or the other, right? So it's really difficult, We just have to, trust that everyone that's involved is, the law enforcement and that they're doing their jobs and that they're, and I have no doubt that Nick and Dog and At Night team are doing everything that they can to help Seth find Sebastian. There's no doubt in my mind. And, Seth seems happy with law enforcement now. So that's a plus, right? And we've just got to keep our minds, our hope, our prayers all on that. He's always deflecting, Chica. I mean, honestly, it's whatever he can, he's deflecting from. That house of cards is falling. And we saw it on that panel, right? Anybody that I didn't watch the whole thing. I can't watch too much of that hate, guys. I just can't. But we were watching the house of cards fall. They just were. Who goes out and does the spirit box with the parents to muster up? I can tell you one thing, they would never get away with that with Seth. They would never get away with that with Seth. Yeah. Yeah. I can't. My husband was a trucker, guys. So, bad language doesn't, it doesn't thrill me, but I can deal with it. It's the hate behind it that I can't deal with. I just can't. So, Drives me nuts. I can't imagine that. All right, let's continue for a little
I
bit.
think that is extremely unlikely. Or that he walked out and perhaps someone picked him up and took him. But I'll tell you right now, there is no chance, in my opinion, that something nefarious has not happened to that child. That hasn't happened to Sebastian, period. And I say that because you can't just disappear in thin air like what we're seeing. I also want to say, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going a little bit out of order. I want to talk about the FBI poster. I'm sorry, the FBI, not the poster, but the FBI $50,000 reward. I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to read the verbiage that they used, and I'm going to reiterate when the FBI makes such a reward. In a case that isn't just a normal missing child. In other words, there are a lot of cases where a child, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, went voluntarily missing. And in some of those cases, a donor, parents, other people might give money to the FBI, and the FBI announces it and says, listen, we're offering this reward for a missing person. In other words, in a situation where is not believed any foul play is involved. That's a different situation than we have here. I just want to let you know that does happen. But that isn't what we have here. I want to read you exactly what the FBI says the quid pro quo is. In other words, the $50,000, what they want. Okay, ready? The reward money is being offered to anyone who can help in Sebastian's safe return or the arrest and conviction of those responsible for his disappearance is being offered by the FBI Memphis field office, the $50,000, okay? The FBI is not offering a reward except for the fact they believe there is criminal activity involved. That's my belief. That's what I think they believe. As I've said, I'm caveating all this with maybe despite our red flags. Oh, by the way, this $50,000 reward by the FBI, that's red flag number 4, that they believe criminal activity is afoot. That Sebastian Rogers isn't just wandering around. That either somebody has taken him and has him, or has killed him, or that he never made it past the threshold of his house. But we'll talk a little bit about that because of the dogs, which I do believe strongly in. All right. So 3/4 scaled back. 3/7, many of you remember this, the fake sighting, right? There was actually a child that looked so much like Sebastian Rogers, so much that Seth even thought it might be Sebastian Rogers, so much that many people thought that could be Sebastian Rogers. People said it was AI. AI. Anyway, I didn't think it was AI again. Check my traps with that. Didn't turn out to be AI. It was a real person that just was a lookalike. So that was very interesting very early on in the case. I'm just kind of running through some of the main things that happened. 3/18. Whoa, that's a big day, right? That's been a lot right now on social media, everything that's going on, discussing the lights. I'm going to talk about the lights. I'm going to talk about the lights for this reason. The lights happened. They're on video. That video took place at 3:10 a.m. Okay? And I should say that 3/18 was when it all became public on WTVF. Okay? the lights were actually on. I'm sorry, I want to make this clear. 2:26 were the lights at 3:10 a.m. 3:18, March 18th, is when we in the public knew about the lights from 3:10, from the surveillance video, right? It got leaked. And a lot has been said about that, right? We heard from Seth. Seth said, well, could it be the trash truck? We've heard, or not heard, but seen with our own eyes. Does it look like a couple people out there with their flashlights? I want to read the specific details of that video as it was reported to us on 3/18, okay? I think this is very important. Let me see. I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. I thought I had that right handy. Essentially, it very specifically talks about how person one is seen. That's what it said.
Yes, Jackie, the reward as it stands is a huge amount of money. It is. I know. And he also said to Seth that, what are you going to do if this goes south? And Seth said, what do you mean? What are you going to do if Sebastian's not alive? Why did he say that? And Rosebud brought up a really good point. That's why we all keep going back and forth, because something is key that law enforcement is not telling the public, and for good reason, right? Yeah. I mean, we looked at that picture that she was talking about, right? Of that kid in North Carolina. I mean, so, we just have to trust law enforcement. We just have to trust them. Dog, Nick, at night. I really feel like law enforcement's gotten on the ball since Dog and Nick came on the scene. And Nick, if you're still here, thank you for that, because I feel like you lit a fire under them. And we've seen things change for the good, for the better. If Seth is encouraged, that's what we want. Things are going to happen, guys. I believe that with all my heart. I'm praying for that to happen. It didn't happen by Christmas like we wanted, but we're not giving up. We're not giving up. We're going to stand strong. We're going to believe with Seth that Sebastian is going to be home. We're going to believe that. I know, SRB, some of the things that, everything that comes out of that man's mouth irritates me. I'm sorry. It just does. He and I would not get along. Mr. CP just would not get along with him at all. But I wanted to thank you guys for being here. We're going to continue on with this because I want to really focus on the red flags that Jennifer brings up. I don't want to take too much of this in one night, because I feel like she's going down the avenue that Sebastian is deceased, and I just don't want to go there yet. I just don't want to believe that at this point. I think that we need to keep hope alive. And yeah, Chris shows a lack of empathy, self-awareness, and care. Definitely. Both mom and stepdad, in my opinion. Just no empathy, nothing. Nothing. That amount of money definitely makes me feel those who know must be family because there's no honor among thieves. Yeah, that's a lot of money to be out there. You'd think somebody would be jumping for it. But you're right, there is no honor among thieves. Yeah, I know. But you know, when he gets Sebastian back, when Seth gets Sebastian back, it's gonna be a good day. And I hope him and Sebastian just spend some time by themselves. As much as we would all like to see Sebastian, I think it's going to be enough for us to know that he's home. That's all we need to know. And on that note, I want to share our grannyism for tonight. So our anxiety does not come from thinking about the future, but from wanting to control it. I wonder how much anxiety Chris and Katie Proudfoot have right now. What do you think, guys? But it's true. That's where our anxiety comes from because we're trying to control something, right? So, oh, hello, Anne. Good to see you. Aw, we're happy to have you. We were just getting ready to close up. I always give my grannyism at the end of the night, and we will continue on with Jennifer's video tomorrow night at 6:05, like normal. I want to thank everybody for being here. I really appreciate you guys so much. All my mods, they're awesome. Guys, thank my mods and thank you so much for being here. We will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.